And welcome to another edition of the Twinbill podcast presented by NyynewsTV. I'm Alex Savage, your host, and then Luca's on the side here. Unfortunately, he's wearing Jet stuff, so I don't know why he has that on.
Listen, Alex, it's close to free agency. There's nothing going on in baseball, and the Knicks suck. So I have to stick to something.
But you could have just picked something else, the Jets. Well, why them?
They're my football team, Alex. Don't you know this?
No, really? No, obviously, but I'm saying you could have picked, maybe I wear something else, maybe wear a nice shirt or something like that, but you have to wear that crap.
You know why.
Okay. Anyway. So we got a couple of things to talk about today. We're going to try to make it as fun as possible. At this moment that we're recording around 8:40 on a Tuesday night, there is no deal. I'm not going to get optimistic about this stuff because last Monday, we all know what happened. All of us stayed up till 2 a.m, and then they went home, and then there was no deal, and they started canceling games. But, Luca, there's apparently a shot for a 162-game season still. I don't believe that, honestly.
Yes, they're going to have to extend it into November. But I did hear Sean, our buddy Sean, proposed this to me. He said, you know what? If this goes 162 games, we're going to have a playoff. And if we're going to have playoffs in November or December, he's down for a bubble in the South.
I don't like
because of the
bubbles.
weather.
I mean, sure, but I don't like playoff bubbles. I think that's for baseball. No, I mean football, and I think that's a topic we could actually talk about. But I want to go into some of the updates that have been going on. We're going to discuss our thoughts on a lot of the proposed stuff, the CBT, the pitch clock, the robo-umps, the full salary, the banning of the shift, and stuff like that. So, Luca, take it away. Also, at the end, we might discuss some things about the Yankees bullpen because I know we didn't discuss it in our first or second episode, but that's just one of the topics I would like to discuss. If we discussed it already, well, you're going to hear it again. Luca, take it away.
So, MLB and MLBPA have agreed to implement these new rules. There are 3 by 2023. Larger bases is a new implementation. It's going to be implemented in 2023. The purpose is to prevent future collisions at bases. I don't know if that was really a problem, I'll be honest. I don't think that was a really big problem. But anyways, the base will be extended 3 inches from 15 inches to 18. So what are your thoughts?
We're going to go individually?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, the MLB and the MLBPA agree on something, right? And there's one of the things that's being proposed, or it's already put in, a 45-day notice about new rules. And honestly, I don't mind this at all, in my opinion. I feel like a lot of this stuff that the MLB wants to implement, it's half and half with me. I like some of the stuff. I don't like some of the stuff. But for example, we'll talk about banning the shift in a minute or two. I don't know if that's going to be the next topic that Luca's reading from the article. But like the Rays, the 4 outfielders, that stuff needed to be banned immediately. And we'll get to it. We'll talk about it a little bit more. In terms of the base stuff, other than first base, I can't imagine that there's a ton of collisions at second and third base. To me personally, it doesn't affect the game a ton, and it doesn't really affect me negatively a ton as a fan. Third base and second base, listen, look, if it is some sort of agreement and bargaining chip to try to get both back at the table working at a deal, sure, it doesn't affect me. It's not like the pitch clock. It's not like banning the shift. So those are my thoughts on the new bases that grow 3 inches. Could it be safe? Sure. But I think there's a lot of things on the table that the MLB needs to really address rather than just, base collisions.
Yeah, I heard what you said there, but somebody else said that it might be easier for base stealing. You could see a lot more of that. But next
Here's the problem, though. Here's the problem with that. And I know you're rolling your eyes, but you're going to agree with me on this. I don't think that's going to happen because what era do we live in?
Right. You're right.
We live in the non-stealing bases era of baseball. We root for the Yankees. We should know this ourselves. Hell, guys don't steal bases on our team. They should, but they don't. So you'll have teams like, do the Rays steal a lot of bases? I'm going to presume no, but maybe they do. The Red Sox probably will steal a couple of bases. The Braves will steal bases because they're very fundamentally sound. They won the World Series. I think we all know that. And a couple other teams will steal bases, but out of the 30 teams, only how many teams in the league will actually steal bases? And we'll actually take advantage of that because it's all about the analytics and it's all about ignoring common sense and fundamentals. But carry on.
Next thing they will implement a pitch clock. I believe they already have this down in the minor leagues. The pitch clock will go like this. There will be 14 seconds when the bases are empty and 19 seconds when the runner's on. Now, here's what I say about that. I don't like this. I dislike this more than I do with the larger bases because I think with the larger bases, it doesn't really make an impact. It's like, there wasn't really a problem, so why are you just making it bigger? It's kind of pointless. But also, I think this is a problem because you're going to ruin a pitcher's rhythm with the pitch clock. They need to get into some sort of rhythm. So I don't know. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, I never was for a pitch clock. I'm going to be very honest with you. Never was for a pitch clock. I'm not with the people who really want the pace of play sped up. I mean, that's just not me. Ruining a pitcher's rhythm, it's not worth it with these pitch clocks, right? It just doesn't make too much sense to me. It doesn't. I think the MLB is attacking the wrong areas of the game. And could it have a bigger effect on the game besides the pitcher's rhythm? Maybe a game is shortened by how many minutes? Maybe. But is it really going to attract younger fans of this generation to the game? I don't think so. What is somebody going to say? Oh, the MLB has a pitch clock now? I'm going to go watch a game. Nobody's going to be like that. I promise you that. If somebody is like that, well, then they're idiots. And, I don't get why anyone would want that just overall. But I don't agree with the pitch clock. I will stick with the pitch clock. I'm a baseball fan. It's my favorite sport to watch. It's, my favorite sport to go to in terms of games and events and stuff like that. But, overall, pitch clock, not a fan of it. Not a fan. I think MLB is attacking the wrong areas. But if it's a bargaining chip, sure. Right?
So our next thing and the final thing of the implementations is the banning of the shifts. Now, I don't know which I don't know what the
unclear.
It is unclear. I don't know what kind of limitations they're setting on it. Are they going to stop every shift possible? Are we not going to be like, here's what I would do. And then you can obviously say your thoughts and what you want to say, and then we'll get to the negotiations part. What I think they should do is none of this 4 outfielder bullshit, no 5 outfielders, no nothing like that. I think we can stop the infield shifts when it comes to 3 infielders on one side. And I don't know if teams would add an outfielder to the infield. I think that's been done before also as well. But keep the infield in like a normal shift. Like you're shifting the infield in. You're shifting for double play depth. You're shifting the corners in. Bunt shift. Corner runner, corners in, corners out, wherever. Like those are like stick with those shifts. It's pretty useful.
Yeah, I had a rant a couple of months ago, and I probably mentioned this on the last podcast too, because we were talking about these proposed rules. But I had a rant a couple of months ago when we were talking about these shifts and stuff like that. About the Rays, and I think the Blue Jays may have done it once or twice, but I definitely know the Rays are known for the 4 outfielders. And I get it. Listen, everybody really dislikes Joey Gallo and what he said. I thought he personally was right, but at the same time, I don't think, me personally, this is my opinion, of course, I don't think his problem is hitting as a shift. I think he just needs to stop fucking striking out and put the ball in play more. Now, obviously, that doesn't go out there and excuse players just hitting badly and stuff like that. They will need to hit. And now, if they are doing this, now I don't think that, once again, they're going to ban all aspects of the shift. I think the Players Association, I think the players overall would just hate it if they ban the shift, because you do have that selective side. I know there's a couple of cryptic tweets on Twitter from different players. Trevor Bauer was one of them, even though he's not really a fielder, he's a pitcher. Right. Basically saying, we can't do this now. Why don't we just stop with the curveballs and off-speed pitches. And a lot of players were making cryptic tweets, but I think the MLB is not going to ban the shift as a total. I think they're going to just regulate it. So I don't think the term banning is correct. I think altering is. But
altering, limiting.
Right, limiting the shift. I don't really like the idea of 3 infielders on the right side, like a guy deep into right field, and then you have the first baseman at his spot and the shortstop playing at second base, ideally. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. And I think there's a lot of things that go into that. You don't trust your infielders in some cases, right? You don't trust your infielders.
It's like they don't have range.
Yeah, you need range, right? Derek Jeter. Now, obviously, a lot of these people coming out here now, oh, Jeter was a bad defender, using these analytics now to justify back then, which doesn't make any sense, right? But with that being said, Jeter, when he made those terrific plays, he had range. He had range at shortstop. He could go to the outfield grass. A couple of different plays in history, even from one-hit wonders in terms of defensive plays, right? Omar Vizquel, Game 6 of the 97 World Series, I believe, from the outfield grass. Do you think with a shift like that, that play happens? It doesn't, because you'll have 3 guys on the left side of the infield now. If the same thing was to happen, I forget who's the hitter at the time. It may have been, I don't know. I don't know who was the hitter at the time.
With the Vizquel play?
With the Vizquel play.
It was Edgar Renteria.
Okay,
let me also correct. Can I correct you for a sec? It's not always going to happen, Alice. It's just if the right-handed hitter has a huge tendency of hitting to the left side. Right. That's where they start the parameters of how we're shifting, when we're going to shift. Is this a key situation when we're going to shift? Also, shifts cannot work. Do you remember what happened in Game 4 of the 2009 World Series? They shifted on, I think it was Teixeira. Johnny Damon steals second, then he steals third because the third baseman was not covering. Nobody was covering third. He's like, you know what? I'm going to take third as well. There's been plenty of times I've seen where a runner steals second and steals third because of a shift on a left-handed hitter. It's happened.
And we're not saying all shifts are bad. It's just the big ones. Going back to my argument, I know Luca kind of rebutted it a little bit with Edgar Renteria, and it's not going to happen all the time. But just imagine if, I forget who the manager was at the time for the Indians. Well, now it's the Guardians, but the Indians. It might have been Hargrove, Wedge, one of those guys.
It was. I want to say Hargrove back in '97.
Okay, it was Mike Hargrove, I think his name was. But just imagine Omar Vizquel. Now, he has not had a lot of accolades in his career. Obviously, he was, a fielder and all that stuff. He played shortstop. He played all over the infield. But just imagine, he probably would not have received many votes or whatever the case, whatever scenario you want to make up for Omar Vizquel. That play from the outfield grass saved a run. Now, just overall, and I'm going to cut it at this because I know I've been rambling all this nonsense, right? With 3 players, it's just going to be simple ground ball, shortstop throws to first base, and now we go to the 10th inning. You don't get a good play like that. And that is the excitement that baseball needs. Does it start with banning the shift? Yes and no, because there will be more offense. But people have to acknowledge not just the offensive side of the ball, but with defense, and you shift, unless you're a third baseman alone or you're a first baseman alone, I don't think first basemen really have the athleticism, just general statement here, have the athleticism to make those Jeter-like plays, to make those Teixeira-like plays, to make those A-Rod-like plays, to make those Vizquel-like plays. Now, Teixeira was a different animal, right? But, aside from the injuries and the power and all that stuff, he was a very good defensive first baseman, in my opinion, at least. I'm biased because he is my favorite Yankee, but I think Luka could say the same as well. Offensive side of the ball, of course, the shift takes a lot of that away. But in terms of defense, you won't get those plays. Hell, if you have 3 guys on the left side of the infield, and I'm not saying Joe Torre would have done this or that or the other thing, that great play that happened in 2004 against the Red Sox. Maybe the left fielder would have come down on that play if we were applying the shift in the analytics era to 2004. Maybe he would have been fighting with A-Rod at third base to see who gets the ball, even though it was way far out in foul territory. So there's a lot of things you could literally question with what if this happened in this era, or would this play have happened in this era if the shift was allowed to happen like it was for the last couple of years? And that's kind of like it's really where I like this new rule that the MLB is trying to put in, where you have less time. It's more of an urgency to put in and stop some of this bullshit. Because once again, how many times the Rays and these other teams, 4 outfielders, you could shift, go shift, right? I will if you asked me, either you have the 3 on one side or the 4 in the outfield, I will personally rather hit against 3 on the right side or the left side of the infield. But either are not good. Both need to go. And I think that's what the MLB is going to do. Does it bring more excitement? Just to end it off, and I know I've been going on a 10-minute rant here. Not really 10 minutes. It might be not. I think it brings more excitement to the game, but I don't think that's going to be necessarily all they need to do. They need to do a lot more.
Yeah, I pretty much agree with you. So we are going to move to the latest in the MLB negotiations.
You're forgetting something.
What is that?
The players rejecting the robot umps.
Yes, the players did
reject the on that.
Robot umps. I can see where people are, where they want more efficient umpiring, but human umpires make mistakes. That's a part of the game. I mean, you're going to still have hitters striking out. You're still going to have pitchers who are pissed off, when they don't get a certain pitch, which the tracker says is a ball. But I don't know, how much do you have to change the game, like, honestly, to to gear to this new fan base, honestly?
I don't really think it's
not even about the job part.
No, I mean, personally, I don't think it's to cater. Because we all remember the old saying that our friend has. Talking points. No, excuse me. Going back to like all the different calls by referees, across any league. What's that saying has about talking points?
Talking points leads to talking points creates controversy, which controversy creates money.
So realistically, you could have a bunch of bad calls, right? Marvin Hudson was terrible in Game 6 of the ALCS in 2019. That one Gary Sanchez strikeout outside pitch, he called strike 3. The NLDS game, the final one between the Giants and the Dodgers, that ended horribly. But that's controversy, creating talking points, creating money. I don't think the MLB is going to go as far to install robot umps. And now, some of those situations...
Let me ask you this, just to cut you off real quick. You think MLB would install robo umps so they can hide their lack of accountability with the umpires?
I would say yes and no. I partially agree with you there. But the thing is as well, they're going to be getting a lot of complaints from these players. I would say yes. I'm just going to cut to the chase. I would say yes. But there's a lot of things that go into it. Obviously, the controversy we talked about, the MLB's accountability to umpires. And let's be honest, there is no such league in America, at least. I don't know about the other states, not the states, the countries and the continents. I don't know that there is actually a league in America that actually reprimands their officials. I don't think that actually happens because it creates controversy, which creates talking points, which creates money. So there's a lot of things there. And I'm not going to sit here and say Angel Hernandez is a good umpire. He's not a good umpire. He's trash. They should have fired his ass. And his lawsuit was pretty much bullshit. Wasn't he working playoff games this year though? This past year?
He probably was.
Okay. Not the point. It just doesn't feel very authentic and baseball-like to have a robo-ump. I believe it does take away jobs, but at the same time, how is that going to happen? What are you just going to see? A spring training game where Joey Gallo is up at the plate, you'll have a catcher, and then nothing's going to be behind there? I mean, it's just going to be weird. It's going to be really weird. I personally am 51-49 in favor of what the MLB and MLBPA did, saying no robot umps. And to be honest with you, I found it a little surprising that the MLBPA didn't want robot umps, because there's a lot of players all the time. Oh, this umpire sucks. That umpire sucks. So I find it surprisingly interesting that they didn't go out there and say, okay, let's bang the table for robot umps. But maybe it's a bargaining chip.
Yeah, pretty much agree with you on that. And that will end our segment on the new rules and new implementations that MLB will implement by 2023. So, what's the latest on the negotiations as of 9:00 p.m.? The tweet was actually 43 minutes ago, so I'm going with the latest here. MLB, per Evan Drellich of The Athletic, MLB's proposed luxury tax thresholds now start at $230 million and run to $242 million by the end of the CBA. Sources tell him and somebody else, but there remain strings attached to CBT and other issues players are concerned with in MLB's final offer. Full proposal is not immediately known. Bob Nightingale also hinted that he thinks a deal could be done tomorrow.
I think you're forgetting one thing.
I'm also not getting hopeful about that.
Well, I think you're forgetting one thing also.
What am I forgetting?
The MLB made a deal with Apple TV so that they could broadcast 2 games, a doubleheader specifically, on Fridays. So if you have Apple TV, good for you. If you don't have Apple TV, find an illegal stream or something like that,
I guess. And so looking at MLB actually did something nice for once. They created a $1 million fund for spring training ballpark workers.
Did it?
This is
spring training fund, not overall fund, because I think the MLBPA did something similar.
It was $500,000 that I think the MLBPA did with the spring training people.
So it's literally PR crap, just to make themselves look good.
It's to save face, honestly.
Well, yeah, I think we all know.
Trevor Bauer also showed up at the complex.
Yes, Trevor Bauer showed up. Ian Happ. There's a lot of other
Liam Hendricks
showed up there. Yeah, I think Trevor Bauer was very snaggy. That's not the right word. Snarky towards reporters.
Yeah.
And if you want my opinion, now we're not going to go on a tangent about this because we have topics to discuss, and this has been said once, over and over again. But I guess he has a right? Everybody's assuming that he did some violent things and that it was unconsensual, whatever the story was. And there's a lot of people out there that just didn't like him. Now, do I like Trevor Bauer as a person? No, I think he's very weird. I think he's very quirky, very weird on social media. He
thinks he's the shit.
Yeah, but you know what? Listen, we'll see what happens in the whole situation. Maybe there's another side. Maybe there's, something happens in the future. But everybody just jumped on the train, and this can happen with anybody. Just letting you guys know that, no matter what defines you or what is about you or your qualities, whatever, discrimination, don't pull that shit, because trust me, we're very fair on here. It can happen to anybody in terms of, oh, well, you're guilty before proven innocent. Well, they dropped the charges. So right now it looks like there is actually no case. But Trevor Bauer, I don't really like him on social media. I think he's a clown. Not like Marcus Stroman. Marcus Stroman is another level of clown. But with that being said, he has a right to be snarky with these reporters. And, it's pretty much that.
Yeah, I pretty much agree with that. We'll see what happens with Bauer. I want to see if MLB suspends him. They probably will. So are we ready to get into some little Yankee free agency when it comes to the bullpen?
Well, I was actually going to talk about maybe, we could break down a little bit. Before we get to the bullpen part, obviously, full salary, CBT, or just our thoughts on it. And I know you probably said where they are on certain things already. I don't think you went over the draft lottery. I think you just went over the CBT for right now. But you want to talk about that real quick? We'll go full salary, draft lottery, CBT minimum, draft. I already mentioned draft lottery and
CBT minimum. I already mentioned CBT minimum.
Well, in terms of how you feel on it, do you think the MLB made a good proposal at 230 going to 242?
I guess upping it helps. Honestly, what do the players and Players Association really expect? I mean, if 230, 230, 242 sounds fine to me, but I don't know. Will they get it done is my question.
I think 230 is fine. And we were talking about raising it to 230 how many weeks ago? And we were also talking about, wait, did they raise it to 230 in negotiation? No, it was only 220. So if they raised it to 230, I don't see why that can't be signed off on and just focus on the other things. But I really want to know, and I really want to get into some of these PA representatives' heads. And I think this is my personal opinion now. I'm not getting optimistic. I'm not getting optimistic at all. But I think the fact that you don't have guys in there like Max Scherzer and Andrew Miller helps the negotiation process. I don't know why I can't say that. I think it helps the negotiation process. Now, could they possibly be doing shit behind Scherzer and Miller's back, saying, okay, you know what? We just want baseball, but, fuck this side of the players. And respectfully, though, Max Scherzer is probably going to go in there and ask for what he wants, not what 30% or 70% of the league is, where they're in that middle range where they're not earning minimum salary, but at the same time, they're not being paid like Garrett
So you're
Cole.
essentially saying he's a radicalist.
I think he is, honestly. Remember, he was the one that proposed that ghost win shit, didn't he?
I believe it was him.
Yeah, and I tweeted angrily. Let's talk about that, shall we? But overall, just my personal opinion. I don't think the players should be in there. Like, it's just like saying, oh, every owner should be in the MLB negotiation room. No, absolutely not. Because you'll have guys like Moreno, some of these other guys, and the four owners. And once again, we attacked a lot of the players last week because we felt, in our honest opinions, not trying to go to some sort of narrative. We just, thought, and we tell you guys our true feelings. We're not doing this for commercialized or, agreeing with the fans or some shit. We'll tell you what we honestly feel.
Right.
But that four set of owners, along with the Diamondbacks owner, I mean, the fucking Diamondbacks have sucked for fucking years now, saying, oh, 220 is too generous, and let's start calculating the meal plans of the players. Who the fuck are you? Who are you to do that? And it doesn't make sense. There really is no logic to that. I don't know who the two other owners are. I know it was Moreno from the Angels, which doesn't make any sense. They signed Syndergaard, right? They signed Syndergaard. And then they went out and signed somebody else, I think. So you're not for increasing the CBT, but you signed how many players already? I mean, it may not make direct sense to the audience, but to me, it does. You're just being a hypocrite. And you live, and your franchise is in Los Angeles. It's not like it's in the middle of bumfuck Alabama or bumfuck North Dakota. Your team is in Los Angeles. Now, Arizona, you could kind of honestly just understand, okay, it's not a big market team, but at the same time, Arizona has sucked for years. And they still have Torey Luvalo as manager. I know Luca's probably going to say, oh, you're not pronouncing his name right. I fucking don't care. That team has sucked for years and years and years. They've had him since 2017. They have not had a winning season. I don't know where their rebuild is at. I don't know. I don't care. But I just wanted to go off on a little tangent about that because I thought that was pretty much bullshit, even though last week we did pretty much rant on the Players Association.
Yeah.
But back to, I want to get your thoughts, expanded playoffs, just overall with the propositions. Would you agree with it? If it's a bargaining chip, what are your thoughts on it?
I believe the CBT might have been used to exchange for 14-team playoffs, but 14-team playoffs just stinks. I mean, it's mediocrity at its finest. Just for more money.
That's all you're going to say, huh?
Yeah. I mean, what do I have to say? Am I going to go? I mean, it's just simple knowledge. I mean, I don't know. It's not like I have to go rant 15 minutes about it. I mean,
Update.
Oh, God.
One thing is pretty much where it was at before, but let me tell you something. And I'm not going to suck on anybody.
Don't do this, Alex. Do not give me hope.
The MLB kind of stepped up their deal here. Here's why. 230 to 242, we discussed that. Now, where they're staying the same is that pre-arbitration pool crap. They're about $40 million.
I thought they were
minimum
50.
salary, $700,000, but it escalates to about $770,000.
Okay.
So I personally think that's better. Now,
Yeah,
it's
I
not at
agree.
70-75 where the players were beginning a negotiation saying that's what it should be at. But if it raises to that point eventually, I don't think that's bad.
Yeah.
So there's that. But obviously, you just mentioned, your thoughts on the expanded playoffs. My thoughts, first of all, I don't know what Max Scherzer was thinking about the ghost win. I mean, that's just some weird shit. Oh, we're going to give a team a win and they didn't play a game, and then let's have a 2-game series. That doesn't make any sense at all. That's a gimmick. And we all know why the owners want this. It's because it makes more money. They could give a shit if it gets bad ratings and only 2.1 million viewers or however many viewers, right? And we all know.
Listen, Alex. You add an extra round. You add an extra round of playoffs. You're making more money regardless. More people are going to watch. Whether it's a shitty game like watching the Eagles get their ass kicked by the Buccaneers, or the Steelers getting their ass kicked by the Chiefs, more people are going to watch. More fan base is going to watch. That's it. It is all simple.
No, I understand. And obviously, once again, there will be nothing we can do about it as content creators. We're not going to boycott the MLB with picket signs and all that crap, right? We'll have to deal with it if it's 14 teams. But if you're going to give it as 14 teams and as a bargaining chip or whatever the case may be, I mean, like, why the ghost win? Make it less of a gimmick, because this is not the WWE. I challenge Luca for a shot at the title. And hopefully, if it's the 14-team playoffs that the owners want, and I know that this is probably going to be what it is, and we're going to have to deal with it because I challenged Luca for a shot at the title. I don't like the whole thing about choosing opponents. Like, no, because the team's going to be in over their head, or they're going to play the cupcake schedule so they can make it easier so they can win more playoff series. So 14 teams, do whatever you need to do, I guess, to make it less gimmicky and to get a deal done.
Yeah.
That's my personal opinion.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. So are we ready to talk some bullpen?
Well, we covered the expanded playoffs. Bonus pool, I mean, where do you think it should be at? Do you think it's just, okay, let's
40, 50 million. Let's me right there. It's not hard.
So they said 40 million. And once again, a lot why we were pissed off last week is because we felt that the players got a lot of victories. The universal DH, the 12 team originally. Now, obviously, it could be used as a bargaining chip of 14, but that's been discussed already. But in terms of bonus pool money, and we discussed this a couple podcasts ago, we were trying to do the math and stuff like that. I personally don't have too much of an investment in bonus pool money. I think the owners have come a long way because what was it, 10 million at one point? But then again, I have to admit the MLBPA did their fair share of trying to drop that price down. I think they're at 80 million right now as things stand at 912. They're at 80 million right now, and they were originally in the 115 range. So both sides, I think the MLBPA slightly more, have done their fair share of compromising. And that's what's going to happen in negotiations. It's not going to be, oh, well, we want it, you get nothing. No, I think that's, a lot of people don't understand the point of negotiating. So that's where the bonus pool. In terms of the draft lottery, personally, my opinion doesn't really affect me. I hated the idea at one time. I said, you know what? If it's used to get a deal and if it tries to lessen the amount of tanking across the league, sure, why not, right? But one side's at 5, one side's at 6. I don't understand. Just one of them go say, okay, we'll take this many teams. We'll accept your plan. I mean, what's the difference between one team, Luca? It's not like, oh, it's one team or two teams or whatever the case. Maybe you make up your different scenarios. But I don't know. I don't understand why it's not there yet. And it's really one of the issues that's not necessarily the most prudent, like the CBT, like the player minimums, like the bonus pool. We'll talk about the minimums and the full salary thing before we get to the Yankees bullpen, because I know we haven't really talked a lot of Yankees in a while, and we didn't discuss the bullpen. At least I think so. In our first couple of episodes of Twinbill. What are your thoughts before I go to the minimum? And I know I'm doing stuff out of chronological order here. What are your thoughts on if we don't have a 162 game season? What are your thoughts on players wanting their full salary?
It makes no sense. Let's just say I work 6 days a week and I work 5 days because I missed a day because I had to take my kid to the doctor or something. Like, are you going to get paid for that sixth day you didn't work? I mean, come on.
I don't think it's comparable to that, but I agree.
Yes, it is. It is comparable.
Personally, I don't agree. I don't agree on the scenario. I just agree with
Not
you
in the scenario, but without the specifics, it makes sense.
I mean, I'm going to provide a football update just for. I know this is not a football podcast, but we're in the process of doing this. Seahawks released Bobby Wagner, and also Harold Landry was signed to a 5-year extension. Anyway, back to the world of baseball, the great world of baseball. Thoughts on the minimum? I think we pretty much said, okay, $700K. And where were the owners originally? I think they were at 650, right? They were at 650, lower
Somewhere
than that.
around there.
And then the players were at 775. So now that the MLB is trying to say, okay, 700 will start it and then we'll keep increasing it. I think that's a good step. So agree to that. That's my personal opinion. So that will pretty much cross off everything we have in terms of negotiations. If we have any updates, we're checking Twitter constantly. We're going to update you guys. Also, the Yankees hired an assistant hitting coach, Hensley Mullins. He was on Bruce Bochy's staff for a couple of years in San Francisco. He actually won 3 World Series with them, 2010, 2012, 2014. He also was a Japan Series champion in 95 with the Yakult Swallows. He was with the Mets in 2020, I believe, as their assistant hitting coach or some type of coach in some capacity. He was fired after 2020. But just overall, from what I've heard, it sounds good. And what I don't like, in my personal opinion, I'm not going to, go too much into a tangent off of this. I feel like they're hiring more coaches because we already have 2 assistant hitting coaches and 1 hitting coach. There's, in my opinion, this could be a situation like the Giants where it's too many cooks in the kitchen and you're hiring assistants from all over the place and that's too many voices, but at the same time, you have an incompetent manager. So that's just my thoughts on that if you want to give any short thoughts.
Yeah, pretty much that. It's not much of anything for me, honestly. I mean, we all knew Hensley Mullins was a managerial candidate for the Yankees, but I guess if he's perceived as good,
they broke it down to Boone and Mullins, and Boone won the job, unfortunately. But then again, I guess that philosophy, unless they took a Beltran or an A-Rod, they were going to pick a puppet. Anyway, last topic of the night: Yankees bullpen. Your thoughts? Just overall first thoughts on the Yankees bullpen, where they can improve, stuff like that. And I'm going to go into it, my thoughts.
I think they do need some repairing. I mean, Zach Britton's going to be out for the year, so I don't think you're trading that.
Why don't you just cut him?
I guess you can, but I don't know. They'll probably just keep him on the roster for just sakes. Or would Britton really sign with another team, though? Like,
No.
Wait. Why would you cut him before free agency? Like, just leave him on the roster. I don't know. Makes no sense.
Tommy Kahnle situation, except they didn't re-sign Tommy Kahnle.
Right.
Man, I missed Tommy Kahnle. He was kind of good.
Yeah, he was. Roldis Chapman, who's taking on his $18 million contract for the following year. Chad Green, I guess, is an asset because right now his presumed salary for the year is around $4.2 million, even though it's presumed because he hasn't went through arbitration yet, I believe.
I don't understand that because Voit went through arbitration and Voit went through arbitration, I think, or was that just tendering?
That was tendering.
Okay.
We haven't hit arbitration yet, Alex. Remember, we haven't even finished free agency yet. Reasons why. So I think you can add maybe a veteran or 2, but you could just leave this up to your kids. Loaiza can be the closer. Holmes can be your setup man. Peralta can be your 7th inning guy, or somebody like that, like a Joely Rodriguez, if you trust him enough. But I think you can leave this up to the kids, honestly. This is the
only time we're saying that, by the way.
Yes.
If you think about it. Because we want Correa, we want Freddie Freeman. We want a stopgap catcher, or at least someone to trade for Wilson Contreras or somebody better than that. Fuck Gary Sanchez. But realistically, also center field. But we all know that's not going to happen. In terms of my thoughts on the bullpen, and I know it's not a true breakdown, but here are my thoughts. You have a lot of young cats in the bullpen, right? Here are some candidates I'm just throwing out right now. Obviously, guys I'm not going to mention because they haven't really made an impact yet. Ron Marinaccio, I think he's on the 40-man. There's a couple other guys as well. But take a look at some candidates for the bullpen that really pitched a lot for the Yankees last year. Some guys, not really, but whatever. Aroldis Chapman, Nick Nelson, Clay Holmes, Zach Britton's on the injured list, Domingo Herman, Michael King, Albert Abreu, Chad Green, Wandy Peralta, Lucas Lidge, Steven Ridings, Nestor Cortez, Joely Rodriguez, Jonathan Loaizaga, and Luis Gil. There is a lot of young cats you can have there. Now, here's my question to you. I asked this before the show. I'm going to ask it on the show. Jameson Taillon, as of right now, was projected to really come back in middle of April, I think, or was that towards May?
I think it was towards the end of April, a little bit of May.
Okay. We don't know when the fuck they're playing the season. So if, let's just say, a deal gets done within the next week or whenever the season begins, unless it goes, into June or something like that, these negotiations, whatever, are you going to assume that Jameson Taillon will be ready?
Well, if he has the proper ramp-up period, if they have a proper spring training, yeah, I think he'll be ready.
I personally disagree with you there. My opinion. My personal opinion, I disagree with you. But once again, contingency plan. And I also think the Yankees need a number 2 starter. I think we discussed that in one of our first episodes. Francisco Rodon, though, he has some injury issues. There's a lot of guys there.
Carlos Rodon.
Why do I mix that up always? I always mix that up.
God, Alex.
I don't know why. Sorry, White Sox fans. Any Yankee fans that want him. But I think you really have to get younger. And I know, yes, who's going to take on Chapman's $18 million? Trade him? Possibly. Once again, this is.
My point is, don't spend too. If you're going to go out and get a free agent relief pitcher, don't spend too much on him, please.
No, absolutely not. It's definitely up to the kids in this situation. I was saying with Chapman, try to trade him to someone who's going to be an up-and-comer contender, right? Like teams that are trying to make that move to take that next step. Obviously, not a team like the Pirates.
Detroit,
yeah, that could be.
I think they have Joe Jimenez as closer.
Right. But Javi Baez, just overall team that's trying to make that next step, and they could use a guy. Chad Green, I think, is easy to get rid of. I personally, last 2 years, have not liked Chad Green. People saying, oh, well, he had a good end half of the season. Well, the Yankees completely shit the bed the first part of the season. I don't know if anybody remembers that. Apparently, people are going back to the stadium and, for every single game that they lose or, the point I'm trying to make is people don't see the first half of anything. People don't remember the first half of anything. And it's just inconsistency, right? Some of these pitchers I'm going to mention, yeah, they are inconsistent, but for different reasons. Chapman's inconsistent almost every season. I'm sorry. I'm going to say it like that. This past season was definitely a just really microcosm of the inconsistency Aroldis Chapman is about. And he's getting older. So if Hal really wants to be cheap, then stick to the kids in the bullpen and don't fuck them up, because how many times have we seen the Yankees try to fuck up their own bullpen pitchers, right? Davy Garcia, he started. Make your debates, make your talking points about that one in ALCS Game 2, 2020. Actually, ALDS. The Yankees didn't get that far, by the way. Luis Gil, he had how many scoreless innings, and then he comes up, he struggles a little bit. So if they want to stick with the kids and if they want to stay on the cheap option in the bullpen, they have to stop with this bullpen shit of over-relying on the bullpen. Because honestly, Luca, could you argue a little bit, and I know I said trade Chad Green, move him to a team, could you argue some of Chad Green's struggles were the fact that Aaron Boone was too reliant on him?
That's true. He did pitch a lot of innings this year. I don't know specifics, but I remember just seeing him so much relied on.
Right. So In terms of some of these other guys, Clay Holmes is a must keep. Obviously, you just traded for him. You're not going to do anything with him except keep him on the roster. Nick Nelson, I don't like personally. Didn't really have a good year this past year. Lucas Lidge, you can cut him, or you could just say, listen, we'll send you down.
What are you talking about, Alex? Well, hold on a second. Let me stop you right there. What are you talking about, Nick Nelson? Nick Nelson, we traded to the Phillies. Guys, this is an example of somebody who did not do their research. I apologize.
I'm sorry. The fact that it's been months without baseball has gotten
Maybe you should check the roster.
Well, I'm sorry. Okay, anyway. Hopefully I don't screw anything else up. Julio Rodriguez, I felt he was solid. I mean, he was, 1-3 coming to the Yankees, and he's finished with a record of 5-3.
Yeah, he did a nice job.
Not bad, and I kind of dislike that trade overall. But anyway, Jonathan Loáisiga, shift him up to closer. And this is an ideal situation. This is not, it's going to happen because Chapman's likely not getting traded because they love to overuse his ass and all the other shit that comes with it. So Jonathan Loáisiga, in an ideal situation, moving to closer. Luis Gil, I think he could be maybe a potential starter, but you need to start him in the bullpen, in my opinion. I think he could be a good long guy. Could replace Chad Green because Chad Green was a former starter. In situations, you can use him. If you want to do your gay little bullpen days, and I don't mean, we're anti-gay, but if you want to do your stupid little bullpen days, go ahead and, put Gil in as a starter. I don't see a problem there. Michael King, I think we should stick with him for right now. I think he's a young piece. Albert Abreu, I think will get better. I think he struggled at times last year. He will get better. Clark Schmidt is one I actually didn't think of. I don't know on him, honestly. Now, I forget how many innings he actually pitched last year. But, with that being said, the year before, in 2020, when it was the Mickey Mouse season, it just seemed like they put him in the worst situations because the game was so long gone. Like the 10-run out of Vino game, they put him in when the game was over. So what are you going to make out of that? So, if you want him a part of your bullpen, you need to call him up and say, we're going to treat you right. Wandy Peralta, I'm not too crazy about, but if he could get better, he could be your seventh inning guy. Lucas Lidge, I think you could keep him, cut him if you want. But I think he has one more year on his contract, something like that, whatever the case may be. Steven Ridings, I really like Steven Ridings. I really do. I think he could be a piece. Just a fun fact, I think it was a couple podcast episodes ago, going back to August, September, whatever the month was, our guest actually, didn't he go to high school with Steven Ridings?
I believe he did.
Yeah, it was like somewhere in Long Island or whatever. But anyway, and then Nestor Cortez. I think he's a good bullpen piece. He's not a long-term starter. Maybe he could fill in for Tyen, or if the Yankees don't get another starting pitcher, or Herman can be put in that role. But once again, you have to make up 7, 8, 9 bullpen guys, including the closer. I think Cortez could be a part of that. So any final thoughts? I'm going to check Twitter for the last time.
You outlined the bullpen situation pretty nicely. I pretty much agree with what you say. Hopefully these negotiations get done. But hopefully. I'm not hopeful right now.
Okay, so here's this. Evan Drellich just now. 9:26 it was tweeted. This is 9:28 right now. Sources tell Evan Drellich and Ken Rosenthal. Let me see. Okay, obviously we already... Okay, so pool counts in terms of... Actually, no, we already discussed the pool counts, stuff like that. The luxury tax thresholds would be 232 in the second year, 236 in the third, 240 in the fourth, 242 in the fifth. MLB wants to add a new surcharge level. Does it mean surcharge level?
Might be a surcharge.
Okay, so I'm going to take that as a spelling error. If it's not surcharge as a word, then level to the luxury tax. Right now, there are 3 levels: base, first surcharge, so yeah, and second surcharge. Now MLB wants to put in a third to deter owners who have a mind to spend well above the pack. Another part of MLB's proposal is MLB tying removal of the qualifying offer to instituting an international draft.
That's right. We don't draft players. We internationally sign them. I mean, do we really need an international draft?
I think it would get more of an audience personally because you see how many of these guys come from the DR and Puerto Rico and all these other places. I don't know that MLB needs it, though. I don't know that MLB needs it. If it happens, it happens, and it gets, on the table. I don't think the MLBPA is going to reject that, though. And personally, I don't think, what's the word I was looking for? I don't think the international draft would be as long as the MLB draft. My personal opinion. I think that would make the most sense. But yeah, that's pretty much going to do it here. Thank you for tuning in to Twinbill, guys. Like, comment, subscribe. Definitely turn on that notification button. Hopefully, by this time we have a deal, or within the next few days we have a deal. I'm not getting my hopes up, but we'll see what happens. I'm not staying up till 2 a.m. tonight, so you can just bank on that. I have tons of shit to do, and I would like to catch up on some sleep. Definitely getting the urine for baseball season. Obviously, check out some of the other podcasts on here. The Fellas, Guillen's World, Como Estas, Chef Talk, and of course, Designated Spitters. If I'm forgetting any, I apologize. But also check out my YouTube channel, Big Blue in the Bronx. Trying to get some baseball content once the season comes back. I'm having a new podcast. I'm not going to announce what the topic is, and the really details until I get my logo. A guy's doing it for me. Thank you to that person. I'm not going to mention his name on air. But with that being said, guys, we will see you on the next Twinbill episode. Go Yankees. Hopefully baseball gets going at some point. And we will see you next Wednesday because that's when it premieres. Yeah, next Wednesday.
See ya.
Before it hits the front page.